I think there's like 3 people watching us right now, but hopefully I think it's going to grow a little bit more as we go through this. But yeah, we're streaming live right now. I think we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and I'm really excited to talk today with Mr. Ricardo Arambarri. He's here with us today, and it's going to be a very, very, very unique. I would say it's a very unique event because Ricardo's an actual client of ours, and we're going to do something, and I'm going to do something today that we've never done. We've never done this either in person. We've never done this online. We've never gone through a real live retirement planning session ever. We've never done this in 35 years, and this is the first time we're doing this. We're going to try to see how it goes. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting event because what you're going to be able to see today is you're going to be able to see exactly what is it that we do every single time that we meet with a family, and exactly the step-by-step process that we take when it comes to organizing an individual's retirement. Now, this is the reason why. Every single one of us, when we get to a certain age, somewhere around 63, 65, 67, 70, somewhere around that age, I think we all want to get to a point where work becomes an option and not an obligation. But the reality is that everyone wants to retire and they want to get to that point where they don't have to work. But the reality is that because we do not do planning, we many times are going to fall into a situation where, honestly, we are going to be in a very, very struggling time throughout our retirement, because the number one concern that people have when they retire is actually not issues about their health. It's actually them running out of money. And what happens is that when an individual stops working, they stop making money. That's pretty obvious. But the problem is your bills don't stop. And people think that, when I retire, my bills are going to automatically just vanish and like expenses are going to disappear. And we begin to think, oh, when I retire, I don't spend that much money because maybe your mom didn't spend that much money, or your dad or your cousin or your uncle, your aunt did not spend that much money. But the reality is we all want to have a certain lifestyle the day we stop working. But we cannot be in a position or we need to get to a position where we can actually retire comfortably and maintain our lifestyle. But you can't do this if you don't plan. So think about it this way. Last time we were all on vacation, because I think it's been a long time since many of us have been on vacation. I actually got off a plane, I think on March 20th, right? Or March 10th, somewhere right as the whole pandemic was starting here in the United States. And I think that what ends up happening is that when an individual is planning out a vacation, you don't just get on a plane and just tell the pilot, hey, take me anywhere. And you don't think about what clothes you're going to bring. You think about all these things, right? You think about what's the weather like where you're going. You think about how many days you're going to be there. You think about how long the destination is going to take to actually get there. You think about all of the potential risks that you can run into over there. You take your medicine. You prepare for the vacation. But many times we ignore this whole topic of preparing for our retirement. Think about this. You are going to live 20 to 30 years without working. Just think about that for a second. You are going to live for 20 to 30 years without working. So the question that we now need to ask ourselves is, how are you going to survive? How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to maintain your lifestyle? So that's what our company does. Our company, all we do is help people structure their money, their investments, their retirement accounts, their real estate, everything that they have, so that they can get to a point where they actually don't have to worry about having to work. And that's all we do. So if you want to have a meeting with one of our advisors, I strongly recommend you better watch what's about to happen. Because what you're about to see with Ricardo, you're about to see a live, real retirement planning session on everything that you need to do so that eventually you could retire. Now, I want to warn you, every single one of you are in a different situation. You know, the numbers that we're about to use with Ricardo, these aren't, first of all, they're not real numbers, because I'm changing a couple things to protect his identity and his financial identity. But every single one of us are a different situation. Some of us have a lot more money, some of us have less money. But what we're about to go through right now is exactly the step-by-step process that any individual needs to go through when they're organizing their retirement. Because I know many of you that are existing client of ours have been telling your friends and family, hey, you got to go talk to Guerra, because Guerra is going to help you structure your retirement. But many of them don't really know what we do. So this is what this event tonight is about. So if you're watching us right now on Facebook, if you're watching us right now on YouTube, please do me a favor, okay? These next 45 minutes are going to be exactly what your friends and family need to see, so that they can understand exactly what is it that we do with every person that we sit down with, and they're going to be able to see live. So please, I'm going to give you guys 2-3 minutes to do this. Please grab this video, whether you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching this on Facebook, and please go ahead and share this on your Facebook channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, just grab the link on YouTube. If I'm not mistaken, I think you can grab the actual video on YouTube and you can share it through text message. So you can just share that with anybody that's on your contact list on your phone. Because I know some of you have been asking us, hey, I want people, I want my friends, I want my cousins, I want my brothers, I want these people to start organizing their retirement, but they don't listen to me. So that's fine. Ignore them. Don't let them listen. That's fine if they don't listen to you. Just grab the link and just send it over to them. If you're on Facebook, share this on Facebook. And we've also created today, we've actually created a baby boomers checklist. So I'm going to share that really quick with you before I bring Ricardo on. But we actually created an entire checklist. So I'm sharing it with you guys on the screen right now. It's an actual baby boomers checklist of every single thing that anyone needs to do when it has to do with organizing your retirement. So really, it's the 15 key planning steps. So first, you got to envision what comes next during your retirement, steps that you need to start doing, right? Saving with a sense of urgency. So we actually created the 15 steps that every baby boomer needs to start organizing when it comes to their retirement. So if you want this free checklist, we've actually made a couple changes. So before we were just giving this away to everybody, we are actually not doing this anymore. So what we're going to be asking for is if you want this checklist, what you can do is you can actually share this video right now on Facebook, and we will send you the baby boomers checklist right to your Facebook page. So every single one of you that share this video that's being watched right now on Facebook. So if you're watching us on YouTube and you're on Facebook, just go quickly to Facebook, share it on your feed. You can go back to YouTube and you can watch it on YouTube if you'd prefer. But just go on Facebook and then just share this on your channel. If you share it on your channel, we're actually going to be sending you this checklist so you can know everything and every step that you need to take when it comes to organizing your retirement. So also, if you would like to set up a meeting with us, I know that these classes are usually about 45 minutes long. If you would like to set up a meeting with one of our advisors, with myself, we have a few advisors here at our office. We have a team of about 25 people. We do everything from estate planning, tax reduction strategies. We do a bunch of stuff here. But if you want to set up a meeting, you can actually just text the letters GFG to the phone number that you see here right now on the screen. So it's 786-502-9207. Sorry, 786-502-9207. And just text the letters GFG. And if you're interested in a meeting with one of our advisors, we can gladly set up that meeting for you tomorrow. Somebody from my team will be contacting you tomorrow, and we'll gladly be setting up the meeting. So I think with that said, we're going to bring Ricardo on. I know it was pretty much a long introduction. Before we bring him on, I do want to mention one thing about Ricardo. So he is I think he's been working for Univision as well, actually, I'll probably let him introduce himself a little bit, but he's an existing client of ours. He's been with us for a few years. I just thought he would be an excellent fit because he's a baby boomer and he's not scared of the camera. He actually likes the camera just as much as I do, probably a little bit more. But I'm excited to have him here, and we're gonna go through a real mock scenario. There's just a couple numbers that we've changed, but it doesn't matter. We just really want all of our viewers to be able to see what it is that an individual needs to go through, whether through us or with any other financial advisor, that they need to go through when they're organizing this 20, 30 years of their life, which are going to be the years that they're not going to be working. So with that said, I'm going to bring Ricardo right now on, and we're going to be interviewing him, and we're going to be asking him a bunch of questions. So let's see if he's on. There's Ricardo. How you doing, man?
Hey, ¿qué tal? Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, I can hear you well. I can hear you well.
Okay.
So Ricardo, I was gonna try to do an introduction about you. I know that you've done a bunch of stuff, but give us a little bit about your background so that everybody knows. Like,
let me start by saying that probably the best thing you've said so far is that I'm a baby boomer. I mean, I'm proud of being a baby boomer. I feel like a baby, not like my kids that are millennials. That sounds like they're 1,000 years old, millennial and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I work for Univision, yes, and I've been a client of Sebastian Guerra Financial for a few years now, and I do a segment on financial information for our public, mostly because I think it's important, especially in the Hispanic community, to have that information. I myself, until I was advanced in years in my life, I did not start planning because I never had the information before. And when I caught up with it, I was accelerating, trying to catch up. And I think it is important not only for those baby boomers that are watching, but for them to tell their kids to start earlier on. But yeah, it's important, like you say, what am I going to do when I retired? If I look at my dad is 91 years old. If I retire, let's say in like 5-6 years, I'm going to live hopefully as long as my dad. So it's going to be like another 25-30 years without any income. So yeah, it is something that it's a big concern, and that's why I'm glad to participate in this meeting. So let's go with it, Sebastian.
So man, I'm actually so happy, and I was, when I called you yesterday, Ricardo, I'm not gonna lie to you, because I know it was last minute. Like, I just called you yesterday. Yeah. Hey, Ricardo, do you want to participate in this? And I know that it's a very scary thing, because, and part of the big thing that we agreed with, and Ricardo, and I want everybody to know this, the numbers that we're going to go through, these are not Ricardo's numbers. So, right. So the numbers that we're going to see right now, this is not what Ricardo really makes. This is not what Ricardo really has. We wanted to just use a realistic scenario that many people go through. But pretty much a lot of the numbers that we're actually going to see are real numbers of Ricardo. You're just not going to know which ones are real and which ones are not real. So I just want to let you guys know that it's going to be a very, very exciting event. And you guys are going to see live pretty much what it is to go through retirement planning. So anything, Ricardo, you want to say before?
No, I think the important thing here is so that people can see, maybe the numbers are not the same, but they can see a correlation on how they want to plan when they want to retire, how much of a percentage of what they actually make now they want to have, and prepare for that. I would say it's never too late. It's a lot better the earlier you start.
Right. Yeah, the power of time. All right, guys. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to share my screen, and you guys are going to be able to see Ricardo and myself in a little corner. But you guys are going to be able to see my screen, and we kept a couple things pretty much exact, but there's a lot of things that you guys are not going to know of Ricardo, obviously to protect, a lot of information from him. So I can't share with you guys where he currently lives. So this is obviously a fake address. But we did want you guys to see a little bit of kind of what it is to go through a retirement planning session. So I'm going to start off by saying this, the program that we use, this is a retirement planning software program. We use this with every single one of the families that we meet with. It's really a location. It's a software program that allows us to just organize a bunch of different things, but I'm not going to bore you guys to death on everything that it does. It's just a very, very advanced program, but I'm going to go through a real conversation with Ricardo as if I never met him, even though I know I met him a few years ago. But I wanted to go through a real mock scenario as far as like what it would be about going through retirement. So let's start off with the basic, Ricardo. So let's talk like if we've never met, Ricardo. So where are you working at right now, Ricardo? You already told me.
I work for Univision Network News. Yes, for
Okay, perfect.
basically.
And I know I asked you if your wife could participate, but I figure you like the camera, so
No, she's working on something else.
And Natalie, where does Natalie work right now?
Natalie works at Niklaus Children's Hospital.
Okay. So she's working at, did I spell Nicholas right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, Nicholas. Okay, perfect. So Ricardo, more or less, what are you currently making at Univision?
Well, the fake number we're going to use is about $7,000.
Okay. So 7,000 a month?
It's less, it's more. We don't know. I guess it's an average for a lot of people.
Okay. So let's use 7,000 as a number. Again, this is probably one of the numbers, not probably, these are one of the numbers that we're obviously not going to be mentioning. So let's say Ricardo's making right now 7,000, and Natalie, how much is she making?
She makes about 50,000 a year. That's
okay.
Like
about $4,200 a month, about.
Yeah, about that much. Yeah.
Got it. All right. So Ricardo, let me ask you a question, because okay, so you guys are obviously, you're working at Univision. Natalie's working right now at Nicholas. I know that obviously with everything that's been going on, a lot of people are on furlough and all these things, and people have gotten pay reductions and all these different things. But I think there's a couple things that are important to talk about, regardless of the world that we're living in right now, Ricardo, because I know that I know that with the world that we're living in, we want to assume for a second that we're going to go back to a normal world. So let me ask you, Ricardo, you're 61, right?
Yeah, just turned 61 a few days ago.
You can't say your exact birthday because people know you're.
I can't say the exact date, but it was a few days ago.
Perfect. So Ricardo, let me ask you, how much longer? And I guess this is just a general question. Ricardo, how much longer do you see yourself working? Like at what point will you want to get to that point where you don't even you want to be in a position where you don't have to work anymore? Obviously, I think many of us just want to retire yesterday, but realistically, when is that time that you want to stop working?
I would like to retire at the age Social Security says that I should, just about 67 years old. I mean, I could retire when I turn 62, but then my wife is going to be a lot younger than me. She's going to want to work a little longer. So I think 67. So in about 6 years, it would be good. I mean, I could retire longer if I need to get more money. Right. But I would shoot for 67. Yes.
Okay. So a couple things, Ricardo, that I just want to make sure that everybody also understands that's watching this is there's a couple things that people need to know about Social Security, and I want to point something out, Ricardo, which I'm sure you're already familiar with, but people do not qualify for Medicare until 65. So that's something that I think, Ricardo, that you and your wife need to really consider, right? Is if you 65 years old, if you want to retire at 62, how you said you can retire at 62, but you don't have health insurance, quote unquote, until you hit Medicare age. So Medicare age is age 65. That's the year that you're going to get the health insurance from the federal government, as long as you've contributed and all these things. So, one thing that I usually always recommend is, you want to use 65 kind of as a good base number. That doesn't mean that some people can't retire at 60 if they have enough money, right? Or 55 if they have enough money. But yeah, let's use 67 as your number, right? So that would be the time. And let me ask you, when you turn 67, do you want your wife to retire with you at the same time, or do you want her to keep working longer, or what have you thought about?
I mean, we've talked about that. It would be ideal for both of us to retire, but she wants to stay a little active, I don't know, giving speeches and stuff like that. So, but she'll still be so semi-active.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you say that 67 would be your number, but would you say that at 67, I mean, you guys are what, 3 years apart, 4 years apart?
4 years apart. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say that pretty much more than likely you would see yourself at 67 when you stop working? Would you want her to stop working at the same time, or would you want to retire and let her continue to work?
I would like to retire maybe at 67, but I don't know if I can work part-time every now and then. It's hard to tell for now. Let's say that ideally, yes, I do want to retire at 67. Well, we might stay a little active, not as much as now.
Right. So I think this is the important part, Ricardo, out of this whole thing, right? Which is we we all want to get to a point where work is something that we do because we want to and not
Right.
because we have to, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the end goal that we all want to get to, which is at 67, if you want to continue to work, that's fine. Continue to work, but I don't want you to be in a position where now you're having to work out of pure necessity
Right.
versus desire, right? And there's a difference, right? Like my dad, Ricardo, and I think you know this. Like my dad is the type of person to say, I'm gonna work until I die. That's Mauro Guerra. Like that's how he is. But I think the important thing is we all want to be positioned in a way where if at 65, 67, 70, you want to just hang up the keys and walk away and just enjoy the next 10, 20 years of your life and do whatever you want when you want. I think that's the end goal that we all want to get to, right?
Oh, definitely. Especially if your kids live like in different cities and different places, you want to visit with them, stay with them, get to know your grandkids and stuff. So you want to have time for that. You don't want to be rushing, and you want for that time and for that traveling, you're going to need money. So you have to figure that out.
Right. So Ricardo, let me ask you a question. I know that these are not exact numbers, but Ricardo, do you know more or less what you're going to be getting in Social Security when you stop working? Do you have any idea?
I don't know, maybe like $2,000 a month.
Have you gone onto the Social Security website to find out that number?
I have not been in a while. I think I went last year. I checked, and it was somewhere around that amount.
So about 2,000?
Yeah, about that.
Okay. So I'm gonna get off camera for a second, or just to kind of talk about something else. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do not know what your Social Security number is, in other words, your Social Security amount that you're going to get when you stop working, I highly recommend you guys go to this website. Every single one of you have access to this website. It's called ssa.gov. It's called the Social Security Administration. You guys, everyone that has a Social Security number can go onto this website and they can find out exactly how much money they're going to get when they hit their full retirement age. So it will tell you what you would get at 62, at your full retirement age, and at age 70. So you can go here and you can go to sign in, then you can go to My Social Security, then you can create a new account. You obviously have to answer a couple questions, but you guys can do this. You guys could all just go through this entire process and figure out, it's probably a 5-minute process, and you'll find out exactly how much money you're going to get in Social Security. So Ricardo, so in your case, it's about at 67, it's about $2,000, right?
That's right.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know, if you want to get your check at 62, it's going to be about a 30% reduction because it's about 6% per year for every year that you retire earlier. Does that make sense? So let's say in Ricardo's case, his number is $2,000 at 67. At 62, it would be about 30% less, which is about $1,400 a month. So obviously by retiring earlier, you get less money. But you get it sooner. So that's another conversation about deciding what's a better number and all these things. And there's a couple rules on that. You can't be working and collecting social at the same time. And it gets a little bit more technical. But
I think the important thing for that is to look at your parents, how long they lived, and based on that, you can make a prediction of how long you're going to live. And based on that, you retire earlier or later.
Right. That's so, Ricardo, the thing is, you and I, we think very alike and we're very analytical in numbers. But most people think about, oh, but my cousin died at 62, or my cousin died at, or my grandmother died at 111. So people use like exceptions, and they use the exception for their personal situation, but that's not the norm, right? And I think that's the mistake that a lot of people make. Which is, but the way you're thinking about it is you're thinking about it the right way, because there's a higher probability of that than there is a probability of you dying at 62, right? Does it happen? Yeah.
Well, I think part of the assessment is to know what your health is like, and talk to your physician and look at your parents, and it'll give you a good estimate.
Right. So question, do you know what Natalie's gonna get when she retires?
What she's gonna get on Social Security?
Yeah, on social?
No, I haven't checked that. I have to ask her. Maybe she knows.
Ricardo, come on, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just that. Well, I'll go after this with her and analyze. But
So let me ask you, do you know, so your wife makes about 50, right? So Natalie makes about 50. How long has she been working at Nicholas? Like about how long?
she's been working there for about 3 years now.
3 years. And has her income throughout her career, has it normally been around 50,000, or has it been a lot less than that, or has it pretty much stayed at
It's gone
around the
up
same?
and down. And of course, we're using fictitious numbers, so I can't tell you exactly how much up and how much down. But let's say that it's been an average about that much.
Okay, so about an average of 450. Okay, so if it's about an average of 50, again, I don't know exactly. The only way I can know the exact number is by going onto the website, right? That's the
Right.
only way that you can get the exact number. But what I'm going to do is, just for sake of example, I'm going to, since Natalie would be 63 when you turn 67, Ricardo,
Uh-huh.
right? Because there's about a 3-4 year difference. So when that happens, is obviously the check is going to be less. So what I'm going to estimate, if she's making 50,000 on average throughout her career and she worked here 25, 35 years, I'm going to estimate that her check is probably going to be somewhere around the neighborhood of 15 to 1600 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm just guesstimating. Obviously, I recommend everybody that's watching this to actually go through the numbers so you figure out what's your exact number, right? So that would be about 1500 if she wanted to get her check at 67. But if she gets it at 63, we know that it's not going to be 1500. There's going to be a reduction,
Right.
because she's taking it, 4 years earlier in this example. So instead of 1500, we're talking about a 24% reduction on 1500, which, if I'm not mistaken, is about $400. Let me see, 1500,
360.
$360, exactly. So it'd be, instead it'd be about 1,240, right?
Right.
So instead of 1500, 360, 1,140. There we go, 1,140. So this is really important, right, Ricardo? Which is, okay, to organize an individual's retirement, we first have to ask ourselves, how much money do I know for certainty that I'm going to be getting the day that I stop working? So that's the first question that we have to ask ourselves, right? So we know that Ricardo is going to get 2,000 in his social, and we know that Natalie's going to be getting 1,140 in her social. So that right there, we know that it's 3,140 every single month, right? Now, question, Ricardo, are you guys going to get any pensions, like when you guys retire, or no?
I think I am. When I started my career in New York, I was part of a union for reporters. And I worked in New York for like 5 years on the air. So recently they contacted me. I don't know exactly the amount, but I will be getting a few $100s per month for like 10 years after I retire.
Okay. So let's just put that in there. So I'm going to put here union pension. And okay, so perfect. So if that's the case, and you don't know exactly the amount, right?
I think it's something like 400, $500.
Okay.
So but I don't have the paperwork with me now. I have to
get it. Okay. So let's just say $300 is just a rough estimate. Again, I mean, when we get the numbers, we'll get back to this. So $2,000 is your pension, your social, 1,140 your wife, your union pension is going to be $300. Question, and do you know if at what age they're going to be giving that pension to you? Like 65, 67, somewhere around there?
I think it's 67.
67. Okay, so I'm going to estimate around the same time that you retire. So that's $300. Do you know if that pension is a flat number? So is it $300 flat, or does it go up a little bit with inflation every year? Or because most pensions that are not government pensions, like union pensions, they usually stay flat. So
yeah, I think it's flat. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So we're going to leave it at $300. Now, again, for those of you that have pensions, right? So especially if you're a county employee, if you're a state employee, if you're a federal government employee, the majority of you all have pensions. So whenever you're thinking about this, you also have to think about, does the pension go up every single year, or does the pension stay flat? And if it goes up every year, by how much does it go up? So that's where we kind of put here what's called the COLA. It stands for cost of living adjustment. So the cost of living adjustment tells us how much the pension is going to go up by every year. So if I put 2% here, then that means that the pension is going to go up by 2% every single year, right? And then the other thing that we need to think about is what happens to the pension if the individual passes away. So let's say that Ricardo has a pension of $300. We have to figure out, hey, does the day that Ricardo's not around, will Natalie get the $300 or will she lose this pension? So many times the pensions that people are getting are only for the rest of their life. That means that if Ricardo retires at 67 and a bus hits him the next week right after he retires, Natalie doesn't get any money, right? So we gotta think about all these things. So I'm gonna put 0% to survivor in this example. So let me ask you, Ricardo, the houses. Let's talk about the houses really quick. So you do have a house, right?
Yeah.
And I think you told me before that we're gonna use like 500,000 as a
it's paid for. Yeah.
Okay, so your house is already paid for.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good. All right. So again, guys, I know that every single one of you is a different scenario. Many of you that are watching this have, you might have some debt on your house, but you guys might have even more money in savings. So remember, it's not only about like, is your house paid off and does that mean that you're in a good situation? There's some people that have their houses paid off and they got no money to their name. So, and then there's some people like myself that, and I'm very open about it. I owe a bunch of money on my house, but I have a lot more in investments, right? So it doesn't, just because your house is paid off doesn't really say a lot about an individual. It could be a good thing or it can be a bad thing, right? So it all depends. You got to look at the full picture. So in Ricardo's case, he said that the house is paid off, right? Ricardo, let me ask you, do you have any other properties? Do you have any rental properties or anything like that?
I have a rental property that I own.
Okay. And where do you have that property right now?
It's in Kendall.
Okay, Kendall. Okay. And then would you say, what do you think that property is worth right now? Like if you had to get rid of it, what do you think
it's worth about $250,000, like 250,000.
When you say $250,000, it sounds like it's a lot more.
Yeah, I know. It's more impressive than just 250,000.
Than 250. Yeah. All right. So let me, and who's living there right now? Like friend, family, or you have it rented out to just?
Well, I had rented out. Yeah.
Okay.
It's an investment property.
Got it. And then what do you rent it out for right now?
$1,800.
Okay. Every single month?
Yeah.
Or once a year? So $1,800 a month.
Yeah.
Is it, and do you owe any money on it?
Yeah. I still owe about $100,000.
Okay. So you still have 100,000. Okay. So the property's worth 250, but you still owe like 100. So it's still about 150,000 of equity. Let me ask you, is the property, so do you know, so it's rented for 1,800. Do you know like what your expenses are? Cause I'm guessing you still have a mortgage on it, right?
Yeah. I have a mortgage and taxes come about $1,200 a month.
Okay.
And then I have an HOA, which is like $350.
Okay. So that's $1,550 a month. Okay. Any other expenses or is that pretty much it?
No, yeah, that gives me a cash flow of about $250 a month.
Okay. But okay, so guys, so one thing that's really important that I think we got to think about, right, Ricardo, and we kind of didn't really discuss this, is the fact that properties have repairs, right?
Yeah.
And so if something breaks on the property, the AC breaks, I was going to say the internet breaks. If the AC breaks, if the kitchen breaks, if you have to replace, a new bathroom, whatever it is, those are all repairs. So for those of you that have rental properties, and in this case, Ricardo, one thing that I would really, really recommend is you always want, whenever you have rental properties, you always want to factor in that there are going to be repairs on the property. And a lot of people like to ignore that rental properties don't have expenses, but rental properties are going to eat up money when it comes to repairs, right? The ACs break, things break, and the tenant isn't going to pay for it. The owner, the landlord is the one that's going to have to pay for it. So usually what I recommend is usually about 1% of the value of the property you should estimate in repairs on an annual basis. So that means that if the property is a $250,000 property, in this case, like we said for Ricardo, we should estimate about $2,500 a year in repairs. Now, you might be thinking right now, maybe Ricardo, anyone else, $2,500 a year is too much. But the reality is that it's not about $2,500 per year, because you can go 3 years without any repairs, but on year
Right.
4 you have to fix the kitchen and the bathroom, and that's $10,000, right? Or you have to just replace just a kitchen can be $25,000, right? So you have to think about the fact that every rental property has repairs and has maintenance and upkeep that it's going to suck out. So with that said, then I'm guessing you might have some repairs every once in a while on the property, right, Ricardo?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I'm guessing when an AC breaks and all that stuff, you're going to have to. So what I'm going to do in just this case, Ricardo, I'm going to actually, I know you said that there's about a $250 monthly cash flow, right? Because you have $1,800 a month in rent, but then you have the mortgage, you have the property taxes, you have the association, you have everything, and you're left with $250. But then if the AC breaks 1 year, then you're out of it, right? Like
That hasn't happened yet.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I'm guessing about it recently. So I think that, guys, I'm gonna put here, just for sake of example, I'm gonna put $250 for Ricardo as far as the rental income that it's generating. But you guys have to really figure out what's the real number that you guys are generating, and then obviously how long that income is going to last. So we have to be thinking about these things. So perfect. So you have $250, Ricardo. That's awesome. Now I want to, and then obviously I think we spoke about this before. So pretty much you told me you have about, in Bank of America, you have about $20,000.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have a savings account with $200,000, Ricardo?
Well, I have that much money in my savings account, but let me clarify that it's not that I am keeping it there. It's just that I want to keep it liquid to do something with it.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't be very smart to keep it there. I mean, especially when inflation is going much higher than what it produces.
Right. So guys, so one thing that's really important, like for those of you, especially in this case, Ricardo, like you don't want to have $200,000 sitting in the bank. You know, how Ricardo just said, like having $200,000 sitting inside a bank account loses on average $6,000 a year in value. That's 3%. So you have to be very careful with your money as far as how it's invested and how it's growing and everything, right? So I'm going to leave here. So he has 200,000. He also has his 401k at Fidelity with about 200,000, right?
Right.
And then you're getting matched on it, right? You told me?
I'm getting matched 100% for the first 3% that I put. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So we said that that's about $210 that you're putting in from your paycheck.
Right. The company's putting as much. They match 100%. Yeah.
Got it. And then so you put 210, they put 210 for you.
Right.
Okay, perfect. And then I think you told me you also have a prudential annuity, right? Variable annuity, which, by the way, guys, for those of you that have variable annuities, I really, really, really strongly recommend go seek advice from an advisor. Variable annuities, and I think we went through this, Ricardo, because I know that we spoke about this in the past. How variable annuities are very high in fees, and variable annuities can cost you 3 to 4% a year in fees. So you want to be really, really, really careful for those of you that have variable annuities. I really recommend that if you are looking for lower fee annuities, you might want to look at fixed annuities or indexed annuities. Those are usually a lot lower in fees. So just a little side note. So there's $60,000 in the variable annuity. And then you told me that your wife also has a 401k as well, right? And there's about 100,000 in there, and she's not putting any money right now, correct?
No, right now she's not. No.
Okay, got it. So this is your picture, Ricardo, right? You have 200,000 in the bank, 200,000 in your 401, 100,000 in your wife's 401k, and $60,000 inside the variable annuity. So let me ask you now this question, Ricardo, right? So let's assume for a second that today was your last day of work. So let's think about this for a second, okay? So today was your last day of work, Ricardo. And let's say tomorrow, Ricardo, you get to work, and they give you the worst news you can possibly hear. What could it be? What's the worst news that anybody can hear?
Well, that you're no longer a player in the show.
Right. So let's say that happens, right? So Ricardo, so tomorrow you get to work, and Univision tells you that you're out of a job, right? And not only are you out of a job, but you can never work again a day in your life. Hypothetically, right? Hypothetically, if that were to happen, hopefully that doesn't happen, Ricardo. That'd be really bad. I'd be some bad luck, wouldn't I? So tomorrow you get to work. They tell you, look, you can't work anymore, and you're fired. You've been laid off, and not only that, but you're never going to work a day in your life. And the same exact thing happens to Natalie, right? So if that were to happen, let me ask you a question. Will your expenses stop?
No, the expenses will not stop, obviously. I mean, I still have to pay electricity, water, and
and everything else. So
yeah, I mean, the rental property will maintain itself, but our expenses here are gonna continue.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you. So let's think about this for a second. So if you today, I mean, the good thing is you told me your house is paid off. So your personal house is paid off.
Right.
So let's say that you're out of a job and no more income's coming in because you and Natalie are not working anymore, right? So if both of you are not working and it was just the two of you in your house, are the kids already out of the house, or are they?
Yeah, they're in college. Yeah.
Okay, so they're already out independent. You don't have their expenses.
Well, we help our son with a little bit of his expenses.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. So let's assume that your son, you didn't have those expenses anymore for 1 second. Okay. So whatever that costs you every month. If you didn't have your son's expenses, but you did have you and Natalie's home expenses, how much money would you need on a monthly basis so that you guys can live comfortable? What would you say that number be? Because I know your house is paid off.
Expenses, paying everything. You need about 4,000 a month.
But not what people need. What would you think you need? 4,000? About you?
I would say about 4,000 because you still have car payments. You still have a bunch of things. That would.
But let me ask you, Ricardo. Hold on. So 4,000. I think that this is where it gets a little bit tricky, right? There's two types of expenses. There are what's called survival expenses, right? Which is, what do I need to survive? And then there's the luxury expenses, right? Because when you and Natalie retire and you guys stop working, you question, do you guys want to travel? Because I know she likes to.
No, I mean, you're asking me what my expenses would be now, and I say it's about 4,000. Of course, I would like to have more than that to live the way I want to live. I mean, I would like to travel and see my kids and all these things. So I mean, realistically speaking, I would need more money.
Okay, so let me ask you. Okay, so let's call it 4,000 a month to survive. But if you want to travel, if you want to go to restaurants, if you want to go to shows, eventually when the shows open up and we can go to like a theater or whatever it is,
right?
What do you because those are the luxuries, quote unquote, right? There's the necessities and then there's the luxuries. So if we include vacationing and cars and gifts on Christmas and birthdays and shows and going out to restaurants, what would be then a more realistic number? Because 4,000 is just what you need to survive, right?
Yeah, 4,000 it's a little it's like what, 900 a week, something like that.
Yeah.
But for us to do the traveling and cruise ships eventually when they start working again,
right.
I would say that we need like between 6,500 and 7,000.
Okay.
If we want to have a nice lifestyle, I mean,
right.
If we're
so
just
now
stay home and not do anything.
Right. So this is where the question, this is where it gets really interesting, Ricardo, because, and again, we're just role playing, right? But you need $7,000 a month to maintain your lifestyle. So this is the question that I think we all need to ask ourselves. If I need $7,000 a month every month so that I can maintain my lifestyle, how am I going to pay $7,000 a month in bills for the rest of my life? But you see, this is the part that it gets a little bit tricky. And I'm going to go back to the screen because I'm going to put here 7,000. But let me ask you a question, Ricardo. Right now, we are in the year 2020, right?
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, you told me that you want to retire in about five or so years when you're 67.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So the question is, can $7,000 a month today buy me the same amount of money, or buy me the same amount of value? Can I get the same amount of value out of it in about 5 years? What's
You
the
would
answer?
have to adjust it for inflation, so it's going to be a little more again.
Okay, so this is really important. That means it's not $7,000 a month. In reality, Ricardo, you're going to need $8,300 a month to be able to maintain the lifestyle that you just told me, right? But you see, people sometimes think, Ricardo, and I don't know why this is, and I'm going to go off subject, but people sometimes tell me, Ricardo, all the time, they're like, Sebastian, I don't think that I need 8,300. And I'm like, well, do you want to maintain your lifestyle?
Right.
So the thing is, people want to stop working to be able to travel, enjoy, do all these things, and do all these luxuries. But the question is, all that costs money. So the question now is, where are we going to get the 8,300 a month? So that's the $1 million question. Where are we going to get $8,300 a month every single month until we die? That's the scary question. And I think that's the question that we all need to ask ourselves, which is, where are we going to get $8,300 a month, in this case, without working, right? Now, some of you that are watching this are going to need
$99,000 a year.
That's $100,000 a year, right?
99,000.
There we go. Oh, there you go, 99,000 a year.
So 99,600, yeah. So it's closer to 100.
Closer to 100. So the question is, those of you that are watching this, some of you I know need a lot more than the example we're using right now, and some of you need less. But the question is, do you know what you need? And have you sat down to do the planning for this? I think that's the $1 million question, because now what you're about to see is what happens to an individual that does not plan. And watch this, right? So I'm going to do a review, and I think we got everything that we needed, because the next slide that we're about to go through is really going to just be a little bit surprising. So I'm going to review. Ricardo right now is 61 years old, and he wants to retire in about 4 or 5 years. 5 years. In January of 2026, when he turns 67. At that time, he's going to get $2,000 in social. His wife is going to get $1,140 in social. He's going to get the union pension of $300. And he also has the rental income from the property of $250. And we're also going to adjust that rent a little bit every year at 3% a year because of inflation. So I'm going to assume that you're going to increase the rent on your tenant every single year by about 3% a year. And you have $7,000 a month in bills. Okay. So This is the interesting thing out of this entire conversation. Watch what's going to happen. So I'm going to go through 2 different tabs here. Pre-retirement means what's going to happen between now, Ricardo, and the day you stop working, right? That's called pre-retirement. So pre-retirement, it's very simple. You're making $11,000. Your expenses are $7,000. You got enough money left over. So you have no problems as far as expenses when you while you're still working. But now this is the problem. The day that you stop working, Ricardo, what's going to stop coming in every 2 weeks?
Well, the income.
The income. So now the only income you're going to get is what? Is $300 from your pension, right? Which is what we spoke about from the union.
Right.
$140, which is the social between you and your wife. And then $299, that's the rent income that went up, is going up every single year, right? $299, $307, it's going up by 3% a year because you're increasing the rent on your tenant by 3% a year. So watch this, Ricardo. Watch what's happening. You're getting $300 in pension, $31.40 in social, $300 in the rental income. If you add this plus this plus this, that is close to about $4,000. Now, right here, this is what's called your net income. So net income is after tax. So that means that the net income would actually end up being $37.39. But you see, this is where the problem happens, guys. Ricardo, your bills are $8,500. So now you're 67 years old. We're in the year 2026. You now stop working. You guys want to enjoy your lifestyle, but now look at what ends up happening. Where is this $4,800 going to come from?
Well, I would have to spend less than that, but then again, I have money in my 401k. I can dig some of it.
Exactly. So now,
So
now
I
you
have to
see
come
this.
in. Yeah.
Now you see this right here, Ricardo. You see this number right
Mhm.
over here, the 607. So that is the sum of everything that you have, right? Like if I look at all this is 580, but you guys are still saving the 210 into your 401, right? But what
Right.
happens is that the 607, look what ends up happening, because you have $4,800 of a gap. That's called your income gap, right?
Right.
So where are we going to get the 4,800 a month? And the only answer is what you said. Either I reduce my lifestyle, so no more traveling, no more restaurants, no more that, or sacrifice that. But if I don't want to sacrifice it, then I got to go and tap into my savings and my retirement.
Uh-huh.
So now what happens is now I got to go and take out $4,800 a month from the 607,000, and that's about 50,000 a year. So you see what's happening with the bucket? It's going down. And what eventually happens with the money?
Yeah, you run out of money. I hope that money will produce something to try to compensate.
So you see, I want everybody to see this, Ricardo. And I know that obviously your retirement's set. Obviously, you're not in this situation. But I want people to see that even if you have $600,000, that still does not mean that you are going to be okay throughout your retirement. $600,000 sounds like so much money, but even under this circumstance, this is not like crazy. It's not a crazy lifestyle. He still runs out of money at age 75 and 71, and he's out of money. And then now the only thing left is the pension, the rental income, and the Social Security check. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand something about Social Security. The day that one of the two passes away, the day that Natalie or Ricardo passes away, the smaller Social Security check will be lost, and the larger Social Security check will be left with the one that's still alive. So that means this check of 3,500 is going to get cut down to about 2,000, because it will only be left in this case with Ricardo's check, which is 2,000. So the reason I go through this example is because this is what retirement planning is. So how do you fix the problem, right? So the way you fix the problem is a couple things. First, your money needs to be growing, right? So It's what you said. If your money's earning interest and you're taking money out of your accounts, then it's going to be a different story. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to assume that your account is making, call it, and I'm going to say that it's averaging 5.5% on average. I'm not going to use anything crazy. I just want to use an average rate. So let's say that on average, you're making 5.5% on your money on all of your accounts. So if you're making on average 5.5%, look how the numbers change. Now the money lasts longer. Now, does this mean that this solves the problem? This doesn't solve the problem, but what I'm trying to get at is everything when you're organizing your retirement, and I'm going to stop right here, Ricardo, but just to kind of summarize, is when an individual is organizing their retirement, we need to think about the entire 20, 30-year period.
Right.
We need to think about the day that we're going to stop working. We need to think about what our expenses are. And Ricardo, if that means that we need to drop a little bit the expenses so that our money lasts, then we do that. But the problem is that, Ricardo, I want like between you and I, let's be honest about this. Ignore the fake thing. Do you want to have to rely on your children? Be honest with me.
No, of course not. No, I wouldn't want to put that pressure or load on their shoulders. No, I want to be totally independent.
But you see that, but I think that's where the issue lies, right? Because a lot of people sometimes, because they do not do planning for themselves, they end up putting the burden on their children, right? And I think you've seen it as well. I'm sure you've seen it in your own family.
Yeah. I've seen many cases of children having to take their parents in and trying to help them out because the parents never get a chance or the knowledge, especially, to be prepared for retirement. Because that's what I think happens a lot of times. People don't have the tools to to catch this on time.
Right, right. So nothing, I mean, guys, I really hope that this exercise really opened up your eyes. Like, obviously the numbers that we were using were not exactly Ricardo's, but I want, the reason we did this is because we want people to just be educated on the area of retirement planning. And guys, this is not something that you do a year before you retire or 6 months before you retire. You know, and by the way, you might be watching me right now and you might already be retired and you might not even know that you're going to run out of money, right? You think you have 200,000 and you see the 200,000 and you think that's a lot of money, but you might not even know that the plan literally is going to tell you that you're going to run out of money. But the problem is that the reason people are going to fail with this topic of retirement, and that's actually 95% of people will actually run out of money before they die. Isn't that, like, that's crazy, Ricardo? 95% of people will run out of money prior to them dying. The reason this happens is because the majority of people don't plan for these years. And there's a lot of things that, yeah, we can do. Like in this case, we could have sold the property. I mean, there's other solutions that we could have come up with, right? We could have done a reverse mortgage. I mean, there's other stuff, but the idea is we have to have a plan.
I think the important thing is to have financial education, which I didn't have at my time. But my kids, they're 26 and 22, but they already have 401ks or IRAs because I gave them that information. I stress the importance of starting to save now, compounding with time, and to retire easily. I didn't have that information, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this with you, because I think it's super, super important for people to understand the power of time when you start saving and to prepare for retirement. And unfortunately, in the Hispanic community, we don't have much of this. And that's also one of the reasons why I love the segment that I do in Primer Impacto, teaching our community how to save, how to prepare, how to invest. And that is important.
Right. Well, man, thank you, Ricardo, so much. I really got, by the way, guys, if you, if you're a client of ours, or if you're not a client of ours and you want to have a meeting with myself or somebody from my team, you guys can go ahead and just text the letters GFG to the number that's right there on the screen. It's 786-502-9207, 786-502-9207, and just text the letters GFG. Somebody from my team will actually call you tomorrow, and we will contact you and set up a meeting with myself or one of our advisors here at our office. Because again, it's, it's what we're talking about. Ricardo was not paid to do this.
Well, I just want to clarify that I'm not advocating for anybody to go with you, but just go with any financial advisor.
Right.
Just educate yourselves in how to invest, how to prepare yourselves. I'm not saying you have to use Guerra Financial, use anybody, but use it wisely and prepare yourself for retirement.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Ricardo. I really appreciate your time, man. And again, oh, by the way, I forgot to also mention, if you're watching us right now on Facebook or on YouTube, and you want the Baby Boomers Guide that we actually put together for you guys, so I'm going to share it with you guys on the screen one more time so you can see it. We actually put together a Baby Boomers checklist. If you want this free checklist, please do us a favor, go on Facebook and grab this video that we're still streaming live on Facebook, and please share this with your friends and family on Facebook. If you share it, we will actually be sending you the Baby Boomers checklist. It's a free PDF that we created. And it pretty much explains everything that an individual needs to be doing to organize themselves before they retire. Retirement is not, a simple topic. Retirement is a very big deal. It's 20, 30 years of your life that you will not be working. And you have to think about all of the potential things that are going to end up happening. You're not going to be working. You will not have income. And people say, oh, but I can always find myself a part-time. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, it is not as easy to find yourself an income at 67. Remember, unfortunately, we live in a day and age that people judge you for your age. I hate seeing it. And I know that you've seen it a bunch of times, Ricardo, and I know you've done a bunch of segments on it.
Well, yeah, the way I see it is sometimes you see people, retirement age people, helping pack bags in a supermarket. If you're doing that because you like to meet people and you're doing it for fun, that's great. But if you're doing it out of necessity, that's not a position I would like to be in. I'd rather be fishing, honestly.
I know.
But I just wanted to say also, Sebastian, that I'm really, really passionate about everything that is retirement and financial planning. I have a segment on Fridays also, Cuide su Bolsillo. This Friday, we're going to have a segment about if this is the right moment to buy a house or not. So I'm always trying to give advice to people to prepare yourselves to become financially wise.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, Ricardo.
Sure.
Guys, don't forget to share this on Facebook, YouTube. If you have any questions, please, you can go ahead and write to us, text us. Again, the phone number here is on the screen, 786-502-9207. And you can just text the letters GFG and we can gladly set up a meeting with one of our advisors, or it doesn't even have to be with us, guys. I mean, we're completely open. Like, the important thing is go and get yourself educated, find yourself a good financial advisor, find yourself someone that can guide you, that can build a plan for you, that will tell you when's the right age for you to retire, and actually build a plan. Unfortunately, the majority of people that I personally see that have retirement accounts, and you know this, Ricardo, the people that you're at and I'm not going to talk about your company, but the people that manage your 401k at the company, right? The problem that ends up happening is that they don't do this with you, right? Like, they never sat down with you and organized your retirement and said, when do you want to retire?
I don't think many companies do.
Yeah. So guys, make sure, find yourself a good advisor. Doesn't have to be us, but make sure you do your research and find yourself someone that you feel like you can trust and that has the level of knowledge of the planning process. This is not about just choosing a couple good funds. This is all about the planning of 20, 30 years of you not working. With that said, guys, thank you so much for staying with us. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it was a little bit long, but I really hope you guys got some good value out of this. And next week, we're going to be doing another segment for business owners. So if you are starting a business, have a business, you're planning on selling a business, anything that has to do with business, next week, we're going to be doing a live event at 6:30, talking to everyone that's a business owner and pretty much giving you guys strategies that you guys should be implementing, especially with everything that's going on. So hope to see you guys there. And